Welcome to the School of Sensuality podcast. I am joined by my fellow pleasure queen, Tamara, who is also co-steward of the Jade Temple. I'm excited to have you here. One, because I love talking about pleasure, and two, because you're in the same boat as me.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot to vibe on and dive
into. Yeah. And I'm kind of curious, like from my own journey and working in this space, it was through my own journey I became a self-pleasure practitioner and a sexologist. How and what was kind of the things that opened you and your body to dive into this journey of your own self, which I presume led you into the pleasure queen that you are today?
Yes. Yeah. So I think there are probably like two key moments that are coming up for me right now. The first one was I was working in the corporate world for about 15 years in advertising agencies in all around the world, actually, Sydney, Chicago, London. And at some point, I firstly just realized that I was deeply unhappy, that I had like climbed this corporate ladder and I was like kind of getting the things that I'd worked really, really hard for. And I was miserable. So I was like, single, a lot of alcohol, a lot of numbing and disconnection, and just realized that I was deeply unhappy. And when I had this realization, quite soon after, my body went into a total burnout. So I was having like panic attacks and all sorts of different things were happening in my body where basically I had to like pause and take time out and reevaluate my life. This kind of experience led me into the path of yoga. I was actually already a yogi, but I did this very cliched thing to get a one-way ticket to India, go and find myself, had a very eat, pray, love couple of years. But they were like, life-changing for sure. So I kind of came into the path of Tantra, yoga, then Tantra, then came into the world of sacred sexuality and somatics and trauma. That was like a big moment that pushed me into I would say like self-exploration and exploring maybe something higher than myself. And then, I remember a specific thing when I realized I wanted to focus on sexuality specifically. I was in a 5-day retreat and there was a moment we had to write a list of all of the people that we'd had sex with in our lives. And the facilitators said, if you don't remember their names, just write down their country. And I was kind of like writing this list and like looking at this list. And there were some things where I was like, what about if you don't remember it at all? Right? Like I was really using a lot of alcohol to have confidence, even to have sex with someone. I was having like, really, really alcohol fueled sex. And I was single most of my life. So it wasn't like I was having periods of long relationships. I was having like a lot of, I would say like even one night stands and things like that. And when I had to like write it down in black and white on this piece of paper, I just had this like image for myself where I was like, wow, most of the sex that I've had has been like disconnected, unloving, not very pleasurable, with men that wouldn't even remember my name, wouldn't know if I was who I was on, the end of their experience, or their penis is what I was going to say. Kind of stopped myself and then why? I like had a very, very, very deep process emotionally. Like it was a very big release, very big realization. And it was in that moment that I was like, this is where I'm going to find my power. And this is what I want to help other women with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Wow. And there's a couple of things I wanted to pick on in there, but as you said, when you're in corporate and living the alcohol in the parties and all of that, did you have much a relationship with your body and your own pleasure individually at that stage in your life, or it was all alcohol infused with other men?
I would say it was mostly with other men, although I would like masturbate, and I often like separate masturbation from self-pleasure and see masturbation maybe more as like a quick release, like something that's like where you're like really like focused on a goal and having an orgasm and like some kind of release. So for sure I had like I did masturbate and I did have some vibrators over the years, but it wasn't like a deep practice, and it was definitely yeah, it was kind of like a quick fix release. Masturbation and
Over the pleasure.
over pleasure, yeah, which is like, something that I'm sure we're gonna get on. Like a slightly different lens of looking at that experience of being with yourself in that way. So yeah, I did masturbate, but not a lot, I would say, and it was more of maybe a release.
Just to get
Get off. Yeah,
yeah,
get off
get
and
off.
move on. Yeah.
Flick the bean and get off.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's as I've been on this journey myself, through sacred sexuality and tantra and the conscious spiritual world, I've met a lot of, actually it's quite a few female British women who have come from the corporate. I know you're in Australia, but have come from the corporate, and then it's just like polar opposite of like just like so go from the chalk to cheese. And I find it so fascinating in the evolution that comes on through individuals. And I think for me, the journey has been very subtle. So I can't say subtle. I'll take my words back a little bit. I did go overnight from being a kindergarten teacher to marrying a porn star, so it wasn't subtle. But then I guess the process of my own sexuality, wasn't too aware of what I was really doing. I was just having fun and living a life, and then that carried on. I do have that story on another podcast. You'll have to go and check that out elsewhere. But as I've come on through that journey, I guess the journey of sexuality was, the bite-sized pieces, little by little, of really seeing that I was so disconnected from myself. Like, I would get off, but with the external stimulation, like I didn't really have much of a relationship with my internal self, and getting off or kind of showing up into a way like I'm here to please the man, and is he finished, or am I really here for my own pleasure? And not really knowing this for myself until the whole self-pleasure journey came in. It was actually my partner at the time who taught me and opened me up into this, because I remember this one night I really wanted to have sex, and he was just like not there, and he just got me this toy out, and he was like, "Here, you play with yourself." And I was like, I'd never done this before, and I was so embarrassed. And I was like, what, I'm just going to sit here and play with myself? And he was just like, yeah, have you never done that before? He was very well experienced in sexuality. And I was like, okay, this is edgy as anything, but I'm gonna have a go. And I just laid back and was just touching myself and playing with myself, and it was a little bit like uncomfortable. And I think it took me a bit of time to actually, to get to that climax, because there was someone, my partner was next to me. But from that moment, I was like, wow, like this doesn't have to be something that is shameful. This doesn't have to be something that is hidden, or it's not to do around other people. Obviously there's a time and a place, but I feel like I look back now, I was like, there's so many women out there who sexuality and sex is only for themselves, with their partner, for them and their partner, and whether masturbating next to the partner is quite foreign, or even doing it by themselves. And we just I guess we've grown up in a space where sex is with the man or with our partner. And I want to bring that back around when we were talking a little bit before. As you came out of your past relationship, you went celibate into just pleasuring and being with yourself. So I'd love you to expand on that. And maybe there's some listeners out there thinking, I was okay, but I only have sex with my partner, and like I never pleasure by myself. I'd love you to, like, what did you get out of the experience of just self-pleasuring, not like just masturbating and not being with your partner? How did that awaken your body, and what was possible like throughout your journey within that?
Yeah. So I'll just like update. Yeah, I guess we were talking before we started recording. The voice part was on the recording, and I was just sharing. I separated from my marriage 2.5 years ago, maybe a bit longer. Yeah, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 years. And I think for like about 18 months of that, I was completely celibate, so I didn't have sex with anyone else. I'm like just like checking. Maybe I went to like a play party or something. That's like, but definitely not like penetration, and definitely nothing like one-on-one intimate with anyone. But Yeah, I mean, I already had a self-pleasure practice. I was already teaching, feminine embodiment and sexuality. So it wasn't like the first time that I'd been on a journey of exploring my body. Um, I would say that when I was married, I think I probably put like quite a lot of pressure on him or on the relationship to fulfill those needs, and maybe didn't kind of take as much like time for myself and in when I was in that relationship, which I think is pretty natural for many of us, right? Like we kind of put it all into the relationship. Um and I was already doing some practices with myself for sure, but I'd just say the balance was off. And then when we separated, I really one of the biggest things that I did was actually fueled my grief into my pleasure practices. Really like was like with the emotion and with the things that were coming up in my body, and really like using this energy as a way to become more connected to myself. Um, but for me, like going into a sort of deep practice or a deep process with self-pleasure when I wasn't engaging in sex with anyone else, it just gave me time to really like slow down a lot, slow down, and like actually use pleasure as a way to, connect with my emotions, to connect with myself. Um, and awaken my body, basically. So I really see that the more time we spend with our body, particularly on our own, we can do it with a partner as well, but particularly when we're on our own, we are actually rewiring our neural pathways and our bodies to awaken to more pleasure and more sensitivity. And it's like one thing to then like be doing that for quite some time on my own. I went into a very deep, long journey of just like being really in this process, in this practice, and being with myself. And I was just sharing with you before that I've recently met a new man who I'm loving, falling in love with, and also making love with. And for me, it was a really, really amazing comparison, actually, just to see how much my body has awakened to pleasure. Like that couple of years since I was in a loving partnership, um, it's like the being able to feel even my breasts, right, and my nipples, like, because I do breast massage regularly, like just to have him like touch or like put his mouth on my nipples and like almost be in like full body orgasm, not even almost, to experience full body orgasm just from some touch on my nipples. I used to have completely numb nipples. I even used to say to people, I don't even know why people bother touching nipples. Like, is it really pleasurable? Like, is nothing, like nothing. And I really like didn't understand why people thought nipples were pleasurable, like because they were completely numb. So to have this experience of just seeing the difference of how awake my body is to pleasure and how much sensitivity is in my body it's really been
Very nice. Beautiful. I've just got like these visions in my mind now, just like of that ecstatic bliss. And it really goes to show when we are, as you spoke earlier, numb and disconnected from our bodies, like, like you said, around the nipples, like, do we really have that pleasure? And it just goes to show like how switched off we are, I say, from the shoulders down. Like I use the example of being in corporate as you're going through, always being up here, constantly on the go. The body doesn't have that time to actually be felt or to feel or to be like, oh, what is this sensation? And something that's coming to me now as I've gone through my journey within that, and you're talking about the nipples and the sensations. One thing I love doing, whether it's with a new partner or with friends even, or in time to play parties, is having someone blindfolded and having all the sensation play. So I love having like a fork being poured over my arm, or even like using a leaf and then maybe a bit of like saliva. Don't love anything on my face, but sometimes it can add that curiosity. And that part of that really heightened my senses in the way of feeling as the pleasure practice for my body, and loving doing that with others as well. But that was something that I implemented to take on. And even I do it now. Like I love sitting in the grass and just like I have the tree in front of my house and I get these flowers, like give me flowers like more or less daily.
Yeah.
And I pick up this flower and I just sit there and just like caress it over my skin, and just in this stillness and the subtleness of actually feeling pleasure or feeling calmness or passion with myself, with just me and the grass and the garden and my flower, both flowers, and just putting it all over my body. And that's really something that's awakened my senses in the form of pleasure. And then, of course, when I'm out in the sun, that's my sex definitely ignites, and I come more into I'm definitely a sensual being, of course. It's called sensuality. I come more into my body of self pleasure, and I'd love to go off on that path now. Where, as we said, we spoke about a little bit masturbation before, where you kind of use it like we flick the bean and we get off. What is your view or your interpretation, or how you share self-pleasure in the work that you do? Because as we are all in this, both of us are in the pleasure realm, but we do bring it across in different ways. So I'd love to share how you really implement the self-pleasure for yourself and in the work you do as well.
Yeah, amazing. I think that the first thing I would say for me, like, self-pleasure, start even a step back, is like, I really believe that our relationship with ourself is like a mirror for our relationships with other people, or the relationship that we're calling in. So everything that we might want in a relationship, and I sometimes say to women, like, list what you would like in a relationship. I want quality time, I want gifts, I want like great sex, I want to have this, like that. You need to give that to yourself first, like, really. And so even for me, like, intimacy and being like intimate and having like quality time with this beautiful body is like actually part of building a really deep and loving relationship with yourself, in the same way that you would want in a partnership, in another relationship, right? And again, same way in another relationship, sometimes you might be like really feeling very, very sexy. Maybe you're ovulating, maybe you're like really, really turned on and it becomes very sexual. But it can also just be like really sensual, like you were talking about with the flowers or with whatever, where we're kind of like just bringing in like intimacy and pleasure and sensuality with our own body, with ourself. Like, I really see it as a self-love practice. And yeah, there can be like either the more sort of regular ways of just starting to bring pleasure into life, which can happen, in the day-to-day, in everyday moments, and like more small bite-sized, like little, just having the lens of pleasure as part of your day-to-day. And then there might be moments where it's more of a self-pleasure practice, going into like either sometimes, and just want to say, like, masturbation and a quick release is not a bad thing. And sometimes that's exactly what we want and exactly what I will do. And other times I might go into more of a ritual space, like setting up my space with candles and incense and music. And, I have what's called a squirt blanket, and my glass dildo, and like having everything and just like fully being in the like sensual space and having this like ritual set up. And when I go into that, my intention is always just to be like going for pleasure rather than going for orgasm. And sometimes that means that even if I think I'm going to have some big sexy like orgasm and have the wand in my pussy, I might actually end up just finding that actually I don't even want that at all. I don't even want anything inside my body. And I do teach about the consent gate. So a moment of asking your body if she wants to be penetrated before penetrating. And sometimes I get a no and I think I'm going to get a yes, and actually my body's like, no, I don't want anything inside me. And I kind of just stay following, as I said, following the pleasure rather than following the orgasm. And yeah, I really believe that pleasure is a medicine. Pleasure is one of the most healing medicines on earth. And like in a world where we are pushed to like be in our discomfort and override ourselves and do and be doing more, actually our nervous systems and our bodies, pleasure is actually pulling us back into like actual relaxation and softness and regulation. And I really believe that pleasure as a medicine is one of the greatest healing medicines on earth. And if we can offer that to ourselves, like, wow, how amazing. What a great way to, people do healing work and they like go into like
Go hardy,
go home. I still have pleasure and it's amazing.
And I just music to my ears. I love it. I think I felt like I was just voicing myself then as well. So like exactly the same. And what I teach inside the School of Sensuality is all about that. It's really slowing down into the little touches and the small movements, or the breath, or the slow sensual showers, or really giving yourself that time to put your body lotion on when you get out the shower. It's really giving yourself that, I guess, just slowing down. We live so much in the racing world and constantly on the go, do, the business, the kids, the jet ski, the dog, all the things. And when do we actually slow down and give that time to ourselves? I mean, we do, but like there's a lot of women out there that don't. And like, I just like feel right now that like they're just missing out.
Yeah.
If women out there don't self-pleasure, they are so missing out on like, not just their relationship with themselves, but I feel that if they were actually to allow themselves to pleasure themselves more and not feel that they were guilty about it, or it's shameful, or they don't have time, their life would be so much more effortless and the relationships would be so much calmer, because exactly as you said, pleasure is a healing modality. And I love that. Like, people laugh at me sometimes. They're like, Katie, I've got this anxiety and my ADHD and my mental health is suffering. I was like, when was the last time you self-pleasured? It's like, I don't have time for that. And I'm like, well, maybe if you give yourself time. I've been doing this for a good few years now. I'm pretty fine and I'm pretty good. So obviously it's definitely working. And I teach this. So you could give it a go. And it's very turn the nose up at, especially in my world being in the mainstream. It's turn the nose up as like, I don't have time for that. And I think for so long, women's pleasure and feelings have been suppressed down and pushed down, which is why people don't think, oh, I'm stressed, or, I've got a busy mind, or go and self-pleasure. Like, people don't think about that, which is why I love my podcast and the School of Sensuality and everything I create, because I'm really bringing something different to the space of, I guess, a lot in the corporate of, office jobs, coming home, picking the kids up. I was like, I haven't even got the sex toy out of the box yet. I was like, if you really gave yourself that extra little bit more, and the stillness really, really comes within our body. And something you touched on there as well, I loved how you explained like your gate for your body to see if she was actually open. And even though as women we have, say, a hole, we don't always need to use her. We don't always need to put something inside of her, whether that's ourselves, our finger, or penetration for a man. And pleasure can come in other ways, just like you said, with like the breast massage and the nipple play. I'm actually curious to I remember participating in a class with you where you were doing a breast massage class, and it was beautiful. I'm personally someone who does more womb massage at this phase in my life, but I'd love to share on like what benefits, or how do you feel within your body. Let's say you go a couple of weeks without using your breast massage and without playing with this part of your body, and then when you do, how does that difference, like the feelings in your body that come with it?
So yeah, breast massage. I wanna come back as well to remind me if we get a chance to come back to the pleasure suit, which is something that I talk.
Pleasure suit?
Yeah.
Okay, have
But breast massage is yeah, for me it's just a very, very again, it's healing, it's regulating, it's just a very beautiful way for women and for me to come into connection with my body. Again, like I talked about not having nipple pleasure, I also had like very extreme nipple shame. Like my nipples are not always, like super erect, and I always felt like there was something like wrong with them, and they were ugly when they weren't erect, and I would like not even want to get changed in front of people. Like I wouldn't even get changed in front of my mum. It would be like turning around and changing a top. Like so much shame around my breasts, and I see that a lot in my classes as well. Like women come and it's like, women start taking their top off, and other women are really like, like it's shocking for them, and it's like, there's breast massage at home, but I'm just going to talk for a moment about like in the class environment, like just having women organically take their tops off and being able to see just regular boobs, like every single one is different. Actually, every single boob is different because most of our breasts aren't even identical. They're different sizes, or one sits higher or lower. And you look around this like circle of the class that I teach, and everyone's boobs are different, and everyone's bodies are different, and you can see the beauty in everyone. And already that on its own is like so deeply healing. But to start to like really feel like these breasts are ours, our own, where our breasts have been so sexualized, that our nipples are not allowed to be seen on any kind of social media, but a male nipple is totally okay. Like, it just, when you stop and think about it, it's actually fucking insane that our nipples are offensive and their nipples are not. And it's because our bodies have been sexualized so much. And so it's like our breasts have become the property of society or the property of the men or the people around us. And so breast massage for me is also like it's like a reclamation of like, these are my breasts, and like bringing our experience, our relationship back to our own breasts. And it's very, very healthy. We do a lot of work that's detoxifying, working with the lymphatic system. So when I'm offering breast massage, we'll like go all the way up under the armpit and across the collarbone and the side of the neck. And it's really, really healthy for us, breast cancer being such a big like problem for women's health. And then the building of sensitivity. So yeah, for me, it's just one of the things about the body, you were talking about being like all the way up here and being in our minds and our heads, and most of society, whether they're working in corporate or not, all of our like energy is going up here, and our body only has a certain amount of energy, and it's an energy saving machine. So it will send energy where it's needed. So when we're not doing anything in the lower part of our body or actually bringing our awareness here or doing any practices down here, then yeah, all of our energy is just going towards our mind, which can go on an endless loop. So when we bring our awareness and our touch and our breath and we come and do breast massage, we're actually rewiring these neural pathways and really bringing the energy back to our body so that she starts to awaken and become a lot more sensitive and then therefore a lot more pleasurable. And I guess what your question around what's the difference when I'm not doing it versus when I am, like, to be honest, in the last couple of years, particularly because I'm teaching classes every single week, I actually don't think I would have had like more than a week break from doing like at least a breast massage. And like, I always find I want to touch my boobs now, like my hands want to go there, or maybe even just like play with my nipples for a moment. Like, I feel like it doesn't need to be like, again, it's this difference if I think you start with a practice and then it just sort of comes into everyday life. Same with self-pleasure practices and breast massage and feathers and flowers and all this, right? Like, or how we put our cream on our bodies and how we shower. Like, I think we start by dedicating a certain amount of time to things, and then it just like the beauty, the real key, and like where it becomes like life-changing is actually when it just becomes part of everyday
life. Yeah. And I love this, and I've just like, my body is just like, oh yes, I have the pleasure, because we live in pleasure. We are pleasure queens. We teach it, we live it, we breathe it, we birth it. But there are so many women out there who are, I say, robotic, and on autopilot. So I'm hoping like those listening or watching have really picked up something in the way of like, oh, okay, maybe we're going to give ourselves a little breast massage. We might not need to go into a breast massage class straight away, but we can definitely get your coconut oil out, get your body lotion at home, and give yourselves a breast massage. And I love, I use my breast massage now and then, but it's more of the womb space. And I feel that that's going from what you've just said about your journey of like, not having that sensations and also being sexualized. That was something really that's brought you through that path. And in my past experience, I went through a lot of sexual trauma, and that's what I teach now. I'm more of yoni massage. So I'm on the other end, more yoni massage and womb massage, to really just to clear through any stuck emotions and tightness that myself or, my clients hold in such a beautiful but erotic and sacred part of our bodies, that has that, maybe we hold on to those experiences that we no longer need anymore, and just giving ourselves that time to really evacuate and move through any pain. And then when we can let that go, we're not contracted anymore, we're not holding on to any tightness. And then that way of living and the pleasure and the practices just become part of our everyday life, which is so yummy. And you said, don't forget about pleasure suits.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know what the pleasure suit is. I've got a bit of an idea, but let's go.
No, but this is a pleasure suit. And this is what I teach in my classes. It's like, I say, this is my way of seeing the world, is like we're souls, right? And it depends on your belief system, but I believe we are souls that are dropped into these human pleasure suits. Like they are suits of pleasure from the senses, from the eyes, on one of the most pleasurable places in the universe. Like Earth is just so beautiful and filled with like so many different forms of beauty and pleasure. And most of us are in these pleasure suits and they're just completely switched off. It's like we don't even know. But like the idea for me is that we like once we realize that we're in a pleasure suit and we're actually here on planet Earth to experience pleasure, and like as a compass, like if we can go for what would feel more pleasurable for me, I believe that is a guide for what is our truth, what is our yes, what is our true desires. And when we follow that, these pleasure suits, they turn on and we are then literally living in a pleasure suit. And it's like pleasure is everywhere and it's so yummy. And for me, it's just such a great like way to think about it, because why else would we have been given all of these capabilities to have pleasure with every sense and every like it's just we are in these pleasure suits. And of course, like one of the reasons that people kind of have a challenge of opening up to pleasure is because when we can feel more pleasure, we're actually opening ourselves up to feel more of everything, right? There's a capacity, there's a window. So when we numb, we're numb. And when we feel more pleasure, we're actually also feeling everything else as well. So we have to be ready for opening ourselves up to feel more. But I really feel once we like can expand our capacity to feel more from both ends, it actually becomes less scary and it actually becomes less uncomfortable. And even in the pain or the discomfort or the things that are less pleasurable in our like the way that we think about it, that can also become more pleasurable as well. Like I was talking about my grief earlier. I found a way to turn grief into pleasure and charge in my body.
Yeah, so powerful,
Yeah.
so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. I love the pleasure suit. It's just like, yeah, if you haven't turned your pleasure suit on, like, what are you waiting for? Join the pleasure revolution. Turn your pleasure on. And I'd like to touch on that again, how you said you turned your grief into your pleasure. And yeah, I'd just love to expand on that a little bit more on actually what that looked like, on maybe some practices that you did or the feelings that you came with, or how you held yourself and your body through this process.
Mhm. Yeah, so the first thing I would say is just like about going into these more challenging emotions is like first about creating safety for ourselves, right? Like we do practices and tools for creating somatic safety. It's a bit of a big word, but yeah, it's like just creating anchors and ways for us to feel safe from within, no matter what's going on around us. And then, yeah, I would say these emotions, let's say grief, just because, or anger, actually, they're two really good ones that I love to work with a lot with myself and with other women. Um, they are a charge in the body, right? They create an experience, a sensation experience in our bodies. And that's what most people are afraid of. We want to avoid feeling those things. So we do everything we can in our entire lives to avoid feeling like, to try and feel one thing or try and avoid feeling something else. But once we really like learn that the charge in our bodies is just sensation, and like once we can like sit a little bit deeper in that, we can actually be with that charge, almost even expand it, like increase it in our bodies with breath, maybe with some like movement practices, with like really being in the body. And we can then actually like transform that charge into pleasure. Like it can, and it would take me a while to really like teach the practices or teach the things that I do. But yeah, it's really like seeing it that like emotions are charge. It's energy. And we can, when we're suppressing them, then that energy gets stuck in the body and it comes out in the form of disease and depression and all the things that we know. But when we can actually work with it and almost like transform it, it becomes like life force energy. It becomes sexual energy. It becomes like pleasure in the body. So it's like just really figuring out that, yeah, we can work with that charge and find a way to make that, we'll turn that into pleasure. Yeah, it's probably like a whole episode to try and unpack that one, but it's
I was thinking into that, and I like how you I feel like you brought it across in a way that's understandable as well. Maybe, curious listeners out there, and maybe, there could be a part 2 on this where we actually unpack that. But I feel like you're at the Jade Temple, and within your work, this is what you teach, whether that's in group settings or one-on-one as well. And I also teach this inside the School of Sensuality. And I remember last week, as you spoke into anger, there was a lot of anger in my field. I was feeling a lot of anger. And I had about 4 clients come into us, Katy, I'm so angry this week. I was like, well, okay, there's definitely something going on. And then, so what I created for my school, I created the pillow smash exercise. So just for those listening, like you said, the anger we feel, it's just an energy. So I get my clients, and I do this myself as well. I literally put a pillow on the bed, and I just start smashing the pillow and just having a basic tantrum like a kid, but smashing it out onto the pillow. And then that just allows me to evacuate all this energy. And then I'm like, I feel so much better now. I've had my little tantrum. And then from there, my body's feeling more. And then that's when I come into my breast massage, or like come into the connection with myself, or just holding myself. I was like, oh, I feel you. Like, I feel all those emotions that I hadn't spoken into or I suppressed so much when I was in my younger years as a little girl. And it's all just coming out now into space. And I have the emotional awareness to be able to navigate that. So for more of these practices, you can join the School of Sensuality. And Tamara also has the Jade Temple if you wanted to get a bit curious onto the what and the why, or the practices, the exercises so much behind the work that we're talking about, because it's very, very, it's so beautiful. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, the more that you connect with your body, the more that you can relax your mind, actually give yourself it's like basic self-care. It's self-care and self-love and awakening like your senses in the body, so this can literally have a rest. And as you were talking before, something that I haven't shared on the podcast before, as you were talking into the sensuality in our senses. So since I was 7 years old, I've worn glasses, and now I wear contact lenses. And I'm in a stage in my life where I'm wanting to kind of recorrect my vision. And what I've noticed for how I do some maths, but like over 20 years, I have woken up every morning without one of my senses. And so I feel that part of my journey in the sensuality and the pleasure that I feel has naturally been developed because I don't have this sense when I wake up in the morning. So I'm waking up and I'm going by feeling. I'm going by feeling my bed sheets. I'm going by putting my feet on the floor and feeling the carpet, or feeling the cold floor. I'm going by obviously I can see so much, but I don't have the vision. And feeling the bottle of water and feeling that in my hands. And obviously it's the sensation that's coming up through my hands. It's obviously activated within my body. So I feel like that has maybe supported me a little bit more. Without one sense, it's activated my other senses as well. So I can actually feel more into this journey. I was like, imagine, gosh, when I can actually see without contact lenses, oh gosh, my senses are going to be so much more yummier and heightened. And that kind of takes me back to the exercise I shared earlier on of doing blindfolded sensation play. So I love being blindfolded, and I love that moment of really surrendering and just trusting, obviously being in a safe space, trusting, closing my eyes and just letting go and just feeling the pleasure, like with all the whips and the floggers and the ice cubes and the hot tea, and just feeling the sensations over our body. Like, makes me kind of want to go and do some now. Like, where are the toys? Upstairs, I think. Trina's like, yeah, I think we're coming to the end now. Are you right? Huh? But really giving ourselves that time, and that's definitely something I add in with my couples that I work with. It was like, and then Katy, what do you mean we're doing this? So I was like, just trust me. And then they'll do it a couple of times, and like, whoa, that was so fun. It's like she prefers the ice cubes and he prefers the floggers, and we all prefer something different. And it's about allowing ourselves to awaken what our senses are, what our feelings are, without any judgment, without any shame, and just simple curiosity and playfulness in the whole experience, and that we can have with pleasure.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that one of the really important things is like our pleasure is our own, and it's different to everyone else's. Like, I think we've been really taught that like pleasure and or sexuality, like it looks the same, and this is like A B C D E, and this is what like women should want, or what men should want as well, and it's like one of the greatest things of like this is a self-discovery, because actually everyone's different, and someone does like an ice cube, and someone else does like a flogger, and someone else likes a flower on their skin, and someone likes penetration, and someone doesn't want any penetration, and actually that's totally okay. Like really just to start to see this as like, what's my pleasure? What's my pleasure map? What does my pleasure suit like, because it's different for everyone. And that's the beauty of like life, when we start to like, get curious and explore like, who am I and what do I like? What turns me on? What feels good in my body? And not expecting it to be the same as what you like or what I like or what anyone else likes. Of course, sometimes there'll be things that we all love, or we have the same taste, but there'll be many, many, many things where we're like, completely different. And it's like finding your own map for your own pleasure and exploring that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's honestly, it's so beautiful in a way that there is so much more out there to explore. And even for ourselves who are quite well experienced within this notion of pleasure, there's still so much out there. And I have some girls in my school, and they're like, Katy, like, I just don't feel anything. I'm not doing the right thing. And I'm like, have you actually spent time with yourself, knowing what you'd like and what feels good? Or are you trying to just show up in a performative way that's because what your partner wants, or that's what you think you should be doing, when we can actually take the stereotype or the conditioning away and just come into our body? Like, that's where the pleasure lies. I feel we have literally covered the A to Z of pleasure. Like,
Way more we could get to.
so there's be a whole episode within this. Like, so I could talk about this for days. Hey, I think this is why I do what I do, and I love the aspect and what it really brings. Not only talking about it, but what it actually brings to women when they actually take that time and like, you know what, I'm going to try this thing like Katy and Tamara were talking about. I'm just going to give myself a breast massage, or get myself a new internal toy, and just get curious and start playing, and then see what sensations and feelings come on through. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to like share as well, as you were just speaking, like the thing that's coming to me is I really feel like the key for women's power, to like really connect to their power and their confidence and who they are and knowing themselves and feeling sexy and feeling like alive and radiant and all of those things. It is this connection to their body. And also, like, as we connect to our body in this way through pleasure, it also gives us access to our intuition. And I think it's a really, really important thing just to say. It's not just like pleasure. Pleasure for pleasure's sake is amazing, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there are just like so many benefits that are below this that are really, really deep, and really like even keep us safe. Like being able to tune into our intuition as women, it's our superpower. It just is. We are super connected to many different things that are going on, and when we can really like tune into that, it's like it's a superpower, and it can keep us safe, and it can keep us making the right decisions for ourselves. And so for me, like, as one of the greatest benefits of like coming back into the body and connecting to pleasure is this like access to our body wisdom and our body intuition. So that, yeah.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate how you put that there. And that's literally going to be part 2. That's going to be episode 2, because I can relate so much. And that's how the School of Sensuality has been birthed. It's from connecting to my pleasure, which connected me to my body and connected me to my intuition, knowing that I'm here to bring this out into the world for women. So I would definitely love to tune into that with you next time. Yeah. Thank you so much. Like, oh, it just lights my heart. It turns my body on and just really, really want to bring this to so many more women out there. Just I know, like, just yourself as well. Really, like, changes like the new revolution of women. Like, not who wants to be stressed and overwork. Like, don't get your flour out, go get your massage oil out, and just treat yourself and trust us, because it works, and don't judge yourself on doing this process. It's going to feel so uncomfortable. It's going to feel so weird. It's going to feel so like, oh my God, and what am I doing? It did for the first time for us that we were doing it as well. So it's really allowing yourself that time, giving yourself self-compassion, and then be like, oh my God, Katy, you're so right. And I was like, I told you, girl.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. I'll pop all your links below. Tamara is it with a Jade Temple in Thailand. If anyone is visiting Thailand and coming into the space of healing through breath massage, feminine embodiment, sensual practice classes,
Yep.
and all the pleasure.
Yeah, and we're also online. I will just share because we have also like a free mini course if you're interested in these practices. So we do have like a free Connect to Your Female Body mini course on the jadetemple.com, and it's really beautiful going through all the different tools, including breast massage and connecting to different parts of the body. So check it out. It's totally free, and yeah, I'll put all the links, give you all the links to connect to me. And
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like I said this earlier, it's like the Jade Temple is the sister of the School of Sensuality.
Yeah,
We are sisters in this space, growing and evolving for other women as well. So we can bring more sisters on board.
Totally. The revolution.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you, love. Thank you.